December 1st, AA Thought for the Day. The thoughts that come to us before having a slip are largely subconscious. It is a question whether or not our subconscious minds ever become entirely free from alcoholic thoughts as long as we live. For instance, some of us dream about being drunk when we are asleep. Even after several years of sobriety in AA. During the period of our drinking days, our subconscious minds have been thoroughly conditioned by our alcoholic way of thinking, and it is doubtful they could ever become entirely free of such thoughts during our lifetime. But when our conscious minds are fully conditioned against drinking, we can stay sober, and our subconscious minds do not often bother us. Am I still conditioning my conscious mind? Meditation for the day. Having a sympathy and a compassion for all who are in temptation, a condition that we are sometimes in. We have a responsibility towards them. Sympathy always includes responsibility. Pity is useless because it does not have a remedy for the need. But wherever our sympathy goes, our responsibility goes too. When we are moved with compassion, we should go to the one in need and bind up his wounds as best we can. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may have sympathy for those in temptation. I pray that I may have compassion for others' trials. December 2nd. AA Thought for the Day. The thoughts that come before having a slip seem to be partly subconscious, and yet it is likely that at least part of these thoughts get into our consciousness. An idle thought connected with drinking casually pops into our minds. That is the crucial moment. Will I harbor that thought even for one more minute, or will I banish it from my mind at once? If I let it stay, it may develop into a daydream. I may begin to see a cool glass of beer or a Manhattan cocktail in my mind's eye. If I allow that daydream to stay in my mind, it may lead to a decision, however unconscious, to take a drink. Then I'm on my way to a slip. Do I let myself daydream? Meditation for the day. Many of us have a sort of vision of the kind of person God wants us to be. We must stay true to that vision, whatever it is, and we must try to live up to it. By living the way we believe we should live, we can all believe that God has a vision of what He wants us to be. In all people there is good, whom God sees, the person we could be and God would want us to be. But many people fail to fulfill that promise, and God's disappointments must be many. Meditation prayer for the day. I pray that I may strive to be kind, a kind person that God would have me be. I pray that I may try to fulfill God's vision of what I could be. December 3rd, AA Thought for the Day. There is some alcoholic thought, conscious or unconscious, that comes before every slip. As long as we live, we must be on the lookout for such thoughts and guard against them. In fact, our AA training is mostly there to prepare us, to make us ready to recognize such thoughts at once, and to reject them at once. The slip comes when we allow such thoughts to remain in our minds, even before we actually go through the motions of lifting the glass to our lips. The AA program is largely one of mental training. How well is my mind prepared? Meditation for the day. Fret not your mind with puzzles that you cannot solve. The solutions may never be shown to you until you have left this life. The loss of dear ones, the inequality of life, the deformed and the maimed, and many other puzzling things may not have been known to you until you reach the life beyond. I have yet many things to say unto you, but ye cannot bear them now. Only step by step, stage by stage, can you proceed in your journey into greater knowledge and greater understanding. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may be content that things that I can see now darkly will someday be made clear. I pray that I may have faith that someday I will see face to face. December 4th, AA Thought for the Day. If we allow an alcoholic thought to lodge in our minds for any length of time, we are in danger of having a slip. Therefore, we must dispel such thoughts at once by refusing their admittance and immediately putting something constructive in its place. Remember that alcohol is poison to you. Remember that it is impossible for you to drink normally. Remember that one drink will always lead to others, and you will eventually be a drunk. Remember what happened to you in the past as a result of you drinking. Think of every reason you have learned in AA for not taking that drink. Fill your mind with constructive thoughts. Am I keeping my thoughts constructive? Meditation for the day. Always seek to set aside the valuations of the world that seem wrong and try to judge only those values that seem right to you. Do not seek the praise and notice of the world. Be one of those, though sometimes scoffed at, have a serenity of peace of mind that the scoffers will never know. Be one of that band who feel the divine principle in the universe, though he may be often rejected because he cannot be seen. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may not heed too much of the judgment of the world. I pray that I may test things by what seems right to me. December 5th, AA Thought for the Day. In spite of all we have learned in AA, our old way of thinking comes back on us, sometimes with overwhelming force, and occasionally some of us have slips. We forget or refuse to call on the higher power for help. We seem to deliberately make our minds a blank as so far as AA training goes, and we take a drink. Eventually, we get drunk. We are temporarily right back where we started from. Those who have had slips say unanimously that they were no fun. They say AA had taken all of the pleasure out of drinking. They knew they were doing the wrong thing. The old mental conflict was back in full force. They were disgusted with themselves. Am I convinced that I can never get anything more out of drinking? Meditation for the day. Give something to those who are having trouble, to those whose thoughts are confused. Something of your sympathy, your prayers, your time, your love, your thought, yourself. That give of your own confidence as you have given it to you by the grace of God. Give of yourself and of your loving sympathy. Give your best to those who need it and will accept it. Give according to need and never be according to the deserts. Remember that the giving of advice can never take the place of giving yourself. Prayer for the day. I pray that as I have received, so may I give. I pray that I may have the right answer for those who are confused. December 6th, AA Thought for the Day. People who have had a slip are ashamed of themselves. Sometimes they are so ashamed that they fear going back to AA. They develop the old inferiority complex and they tell themselves that they are no good. They that have let down their friends in AA. They that are hopeless and can never make it. This state of mind is perhaps worse than it was originally. They have probably been somewhat weakened by their slip, but their AA training cannot ever be entirely lost. They always know they can go back if they want to. They know there is still God's help for them if they will again ask for it. Do I believe that I can never entirely lose what I have learned in AA? Meditation for the day. No one entirely escapes temptation. You must expect it and be ready for it when it comes. None of us is entirely safe. You must try to keep your defenses up through daily thought and prayer. This is why we have developed the daily meditations. You must be able to recognize the temptation when it occurs. The first step towards conquering temptation always is to see it clearly as temptation and do not harbor it in your mind. Dissociate yourself from it. Put it out of your mind as soon as it appears. Do not think of excuses for yielding to it. Turn at once to the higher power for help. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may be prepared for whatever temptation may come to me. I pray that I may see it clearly and avoid it with the help of God. Break. Would you like to advertise on the internet and get your social media presence started? I can do the work for you. Visit www.midsouthmedia.net. End break. December 7th. When people come back to AA after having a slip, the temptation is strong, to say nothing about it. No other AA member should force them to declare themselves. It is entirely up to them. If they are well grounded in AA, they will realize that it's up to them to speak up at the next meeting and tell about the slip. There is no possible evasion of this duty. If they are thoroughly honest and really desirous of living the AA way again, when they have done it, their old confidence will return. They will be at home again. Their slip should not be mentioned by the others. They are again a member in good standing of AA. Am I tolerant of other people's mistakes? Meditation for the day. It is in the union of a soul with God that strength, new life, and spiritual power come. Bread sustains the body, but we cannot live by bread alone. To try to do the will of God is the meat and support of true living. We feed on that spiritual food. Soul starvation comes from failing to do so. The world talks about bodies that are undernourished. What of the souls that are undernourished? Strength and peace come from partaking of spiritual food. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may not try to live by bread alone. I pray that my spirit may live by trying to do the will of God as I understand it. December 8th. AA Thought for the Day. The length of time of our sobriety is not as important as the quality of sobriety. A person who has been in AA for a number of years may not be in as good a mental condition as a person who has only been in a few months. It is a great satisfaction to have been an AA member for a long time, and we often mention it. It may sometimes help the newer members because they may say to themselves, if they can do it, I can do it. And yet, The older members must realize that as long as they live, they are only one drink away from a drunk. What is the quality of my sobriety? Meditation for the day. And greater works than these shall ye do. We can do greater works, and when we have more experience of the new way of life, we can have all the power we need from the unseen God. We can have His grace, His Spirit, to make us effective as we go along each day. Opportunities for a better world are all around us. Greater works can we do, but we do not work alone. The power of God is behind all good works. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may find a rightful place in the world. I pray that my work may be made more effective by the grace of God. December 9th, AA Thought for the Day. The way of AA is the way of fellowship. We have read a good deal about fellowship, and yet it is such an important part of the AA program that it seems we cannot think too much about it. Human beings were not meant to live alone. A hermit's life is not a normal or natural one. We need to be by ourselves at times, but we cannot really live without the companionship of others. Our natures really demand it. Our lives largely upon it. The fellowship of AA seems to be the best in the world. Do I fully appreciate what the fellowship of AA means to me? Meditation for the day. We are all seeking something, but many do not know what they really want in life. They are seeking something because they are restless and dissatisfied, without realizing that faith in God can give an objective and a purpose to their lives. Many of us are at least subconsciously seeking for a power greater than ourselves because that would give meaning to our existence. If you have found that higher power, you can be the means of leading others aright by showing them that their search for a meaning to life will end when they find faith and trust that God is the answer. Prayer for the day. I pray that my soul will lose its restlessness by finding rest in God. I pray that I may find peace of mind in the thought of God and His purpose for my life. December 10th, AA Thought for the Day. Our drinking fellowship was a substitute one, for lack of something better. At the time, we did not realize what fellowship could be. Drinking fellowship has a fatal fault. It is not based on a firm foundation. Most of it is on the surface. It is based mostly on the desire to use your companions for your own pleasure, and using others is a false foundation. Drinking fellowship has been praised as a strong story. The cup that cheers has become famous as a means of companionship, but we realize that the higher centers of our brains are dulled by alcohol, and such fellowship cannot be on the highest plane. It is at best only a substitute. Do I see my drinking fellowship in its proper light? Meditation for the day. Set for yourself the task of growing daily more and more into the consciousness of a higher power. We must keep trying to improve our conscious contact with God. This is done by prayer, quiet times, and communion. Often, all you need to do is sit and before God, silent, letting Him speak to you through your thoughts. Try to think God's thoughts after Him. When the guidance comes, you must not hesitate, but go forth and follow the guidance in your daily work, doing what you believe to be the next right thing. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may be still and know that God is with me. I pray that I may open my mind to the leadings of the divine mind. December 11th, AA Thought for the Day. Doctors think of the AA fellowship as group therapy. This is a very narrow conception of the depth of the AA fellowship. Looking at it purely as a means of acquiring and holding sobriety, it is right as far as it goes, but it doesn't go far enough. Group therapy is directed toward the help that the individual receives from it. It is essentially selfish. It is using the companionship of other alcoholics only in order to stay sober ourselves. But this is only the beginning of real AA fellowship. Do I deeply feel the true AA fellowship? Meditation for the day. Most of us have had to live through the dark part of our lives, the time of failure, the night time of our lives, when we were full of struggle and care, worry and remorse, when we felt deeply the tragedy of life. But with our daily surrender to a higher power comes a peace and a joy that makes all things new. We can now take each day as a joyous sunrise gift from God to use for Him and for other people. The night of the past is gone. This day is ours. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may take this day as a gift from God. I pray that I may thank God for this day and be glad I am in it. December 12th, AA Thought for the Day. The clergy speaks of the spiritual fellowship of the church. This is much closer to the AA way than a mere group therapy. Such a fellowship is based on a common belief in God and a common effort to live a spiritual life. We try to do this in AA. We also try to get down to the real problems in each other's lives. We try to open up to each other. We have a real desire to be of service to each other. We try to go deep down in the personal lives of our members. Do I appreciate the deep personal fellowship of AA? Meditation for the day. Love and fear cannot dwell together. By their very natures, they cannot exist side by side. Fear is a very strong force, and therefore a weak and vacillating love can soon be routed by fear. But a strong love, a love that trusts in God, is sure to eventually conquer fear. The only sure way to dispel fear is to have the love of God more and more in your heart and in your soul. Prayer for the day. I pray that love will drive out the fear in my life. I pray that my fear will flee before the power of the love of God. December 13th, AA Thought for the Day. We come now to AA Fellowship. It is partly group therapy. It is based partly spiritual fellowship, but it is even more. It's based on a common illness, a common failure, a common problem. It goes deep down into our personal lives and our personal needs. It requires a full opening up to each other of our inmost thoughts and most secret problems. All barriers between us are swept aside. They have to be. Then we try to help each other get well. The AA fellowship is based on a sincere desire to help each other get well. The AA fellowship is based on a sincere desire to help the other person. In AA, we can be sure of sympathy, understanding, and real help. These things make the AA fellowship the best that we know. Do I fully appreciate the depth of the AA fellowship? Meditation for the day. The higher power can guide us to the right decisions if we pray about them. We can believe that many details of our lives are planned by God and planned with a wealth of forgiving love for the mistakes we have made. We can pray today to be shown the right way. We can choose the good when we choose it. We can feel that the whole power of the universe is behind us. We can achieve a real harmony with God's purpose for our lives. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may choose a right today. I pray that I may be shown the right way to live today. December 14th, AA Thought for the Day. The way of AA is the way of service. Without that, it would not work. We have been on the wagon and hated it. We have taken the pledge and waited for the time to be up with impatience. We have tried in all manner of ways to help ourselves, but not until we begin to help other people do we get full relief. It is an axiom that the AA program has had to be given away in order to be kept. A river flows into the Dead Sea and stops. A river flows into a clear pool and flows out again. We get and then we give. If we do not give, we do not keep. Have I given up all the ideas of holding AA for myself alone? Meditation for the day. Try to see the life of the Spirit as a calm place. Shut away from the turmoil of the world. Think of your contentment. Go to this quiet meditative place for the strength to carry you through today's duties and problems. Keep coming back here for refreshment when you are weary of the hubbub outside of the world. From this strength, quietness, and communion comes our strength. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may keep this resting place where I can commune with God. I pray that I may find refreshment in the meditation on the eternal. December 15th, AA Thought for the Day. Service to others makes the world a good place. Civilization would cease if all of us were always and only out for ourselves. We alcoholics have a wonderful opportunity to contribute to the well-being of the world. We have a common problem. We find a common answer. We are uniquely equipped to help others with the same problem. What a wonderful world it would be if we took our own greatest problem and found the answer to it and spent the rest of our lives helping others with the same problem in our spare time. Soon we would have the right kind of a world. Do I appreciate my unique opportunity to be of service? Meditation for the day. Today can be lived in the consciousness of God's contact, holding you up in all good thought, words, and deeds. If sometimes there seems to be a shadow on your life and you feel out of sorts, remember that this is not the withdrawal of God's presence, but only your own temporary unwillingness to realize it. The quiet gray days are the days for doing what you must do, but know that the consciousness of God's nearness will return and be with you again when the gray days are past. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may face the dull days with courage. I pray that I may have the faith that the bright days will return. December 16th, AA Thought for the Day. The way of AA is the way of faith. We don't get the full benefit of the program until we surrender our lives to some power greater than ourselves and trust that power to give us the entire strength we need. There is no better way for us. We can get sober without it. We can stay sober for some time without it. But if we're going to truly live, we must take the way of faith in God. That is the path for us. We must follow it. Have I taken the way of faith? Meditation for the day. Life is not a search for happiness. Happiness is a byproduct of living the right kind of a life, of doing the right thing. Do not search for happiness. Search for right living, and happiness will be your reward. Life is sometimes a march of duty during dull, dark days, but happiness will come again, as God's smile of recognition of your faithfulness. True happiness is the way of a byproduct of life well lived. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may not seek happiness, but seek to do right. I pray that I may not seek pleasure so much as the things that bring true happiness. December 17th, AA Thought for the Day. The way of faith is, of course, not confined to AA. It is for everybody who really wants to live. But many people can go through life without much of it. Many are doing so, to their own sorrow. The world is full of lack of faith. Many people have lost confidence in any meaning in the universe. Many are wondering if it has any meaning at all. Many are at loose ends. Life has no goal for many. They are strangers in the land. They are not at home. But for us in AA, the way of faith is the way of life. We have proved by our past lives that we could not live without it. Do I think I could live happily without faith? Meditation for the day. He maketh his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends the rain on the just and the unjust. God does not interfere with the working of natural laws. The natural laws of nature are unchangeable. Otherwise, we could not depend on them. As far as natural laws are concerned, God makes no distinction between good and bad people. Sickness or death may strike anywhere, but spiritual laws are also made to be obeyed. Our choice of good or evil depends on whether we go upward to true success and victory in life, or downward to loss and defeat. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may choose today the way of the spiritual life. I pray that I may live today with faith and hope and love. December 18th, AA Thought for the Day. Unless we have the key of faith to unlock the meaning of life, we are lost. We do not choose faith because of one way of life for us, but because it is the only way. Many of us have failed and will fail, for we cannot live victoriously without faith. We are at sea without a rudder or an anchor, drifting on the seas of life. Wayfarers without a home. Our souls are restless until they find rest in God. Without faith, our lives are a meaningless succession of unrelated things. Without rhyme or reason, have I come to rest in faith? Meditation for the day. This vast universe around us, including this wonderful earth on which we live, was once perhaps only a thought in the mind of God. The nearer the astronomers and the physicists get to the ultimate composition of all things, the nearer the universe approaches a mathematical formula, which is thought. The universe may be the thought of a great thinker. We must try to think God's thoughts after him. We must try to get guidance from the divine mind as to what his intention is for the world and what part we can have in carrying out that intention. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may not worry over the limitations of my human mind. I pray that I may live as though my mind were a reflection of the divine mind. December 19th, AA Thought for the Day. The skeptic and the agnostic say, it is impossible for us to find the answer to life. Many have tried and failed, but many more have put aside the intellectual pride and have said to themselves, who am I to say there is no God? Who am I to say there is no purpose in life? The atheist makes a declaration. The world originated in a cipher and aimlessly rushes nowhere. Others live for the moment and do not even think about why they are here or where they are going. They might as well be as clams on the bottom of the ocean, protected by their hard shells of indifference. They are going nowhere, and they do not care. Do I care where I'm going? Meditation for the day. We may consider the material world as the clay which the artist works with. To make of it something beautiful or ugly, we need not fear material things which are neither good nor bad in the moral sense. There seems to be no active force for evil outside of human beings themselves. Humans alone can have either evil intentions, resentments, malevolence, hate, and revenge, or good intentions, love and goodwill. They can make something ugly or beautiful out of the clay of their lives. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may make something good out of my life. I pray that I may be a good artisan with the materials that I have been given to use. December 20th, AA Thought for the Day. Our faith should control the whole of our life. We alcoholics were living a divided life. We had to find an easy way to make it whole. When we were drinking, our lives were made up of a lot of scattered and unrelated pieces. We must pick up our lives and put them together again. We do it by recovering faith in a divine principle in the universe that holds us together and holds the universe together and gives it meaning and purpose. We surrender our disorganized lives to that power. We get into harmony with the divine spirit and our lives are made whole again. Is my life whole again? Meditation for the day. Avoid fear as you would the plague. Fear, even the smallest fear, is a hacking at the cords of faith that bind you to God. However small the fraying, in time, those cords will wear thin. Then one disappointment or shock will make them snap. But for the little fears of the cords of faith would have them held firm. Avoid depression, which is aligned to fear. Remember that all fear is disloyal to God. It is a denial of His care and protection. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may have such trust in God today that I will not fear anything too greatly. I pray that I may have assurance that God will take care of me in the long run. December 21st, AA Thought for the Day. Have I ceased in being inwardly defeated, at war with myself? Have I given myself freely to AA and to the higher power? Have I gotten over being sick inside? Am I still wandering mentally, or am I on the beam? Can I face anything if I am sure I'm on my way? When I am sure, I should bet my life on AA. I have learned how the program works. Now I will follow it with all I have, all I could give, with all my might and all my life. Am I going to let AA principles guide the rest of my life? Meditation for the day. In this time of quiet meditation, follow the pressure of the Lord's leading in all decisions to be made. Yield to the gentle pressure of your conscience. Stay or go as that pressure indicates. Take the events of today as part of God's planning and ordering. He may lead you to a right decision. Wait quietly until you have an inner urge, a leading, a feeling that a thing is right, a pressure on your will by the Spirit of God. Prayer for the day. I pray that today I may try to follow the inner pressure of God's leading. I pray that I may try to follow my conscience and do what is right today. Break. Advertisement. Are you going through storms in life? Can't seem to get it together? Purchase Facing the Storm, Unlimited Motivation on Amazon or Kindle today. End break. December 22nd, AA Thought for the Day. As we look back over our drinking careers, we must realize that our lives were a mess because we were a mess inside. The trouble was in us, not in life itself. Life itself was good enough, but we were looking at it the wrong way. We were looking at life through the bottom of a whiskey glass, and it was distorted. We could not see all the beauty and goodness, purpose in the world because our vision was blurred. We were in a house with one-way glass in the windows. People could see us, but we could not look out and see them, and see what life meant to them and should mean to us. We were blind then, but now we can see. Can I now look at life as it really is? Meditation for the day. Fear no evil, because the power of God can conquer evil. Evil has no power to seriously hurt those who do not place themselves under the protection of a higher power. This is not a question of feeling. It is an assured fact of our experience. Say to yourself with assurance that as whatever it is, no evil can seriously harm you as long as you depend on the higher power. Be sure of the protection of God's grace. Prayer for the day. I pray that the fear of evil will not get me down. I pray that I may try to place myself today under the protection of God's grace. December 23rd, AA Thought for the Day. We definitely have that dream world behind us. It was only a sham. It was a world of our making, and it was not the real world. We are sorry for the past, yes, but we learned a lot from it. We could put it down to experience, valuable experience. We see it now, because it has given us the knowledge necessary to face the world as it really is. We had to become alcoholics in order to find the AA program. We should not have gotten it any other way. In a way, it was worth it. Do I look at my past as a valuable experience? Meditation for the day. Shed peace, not discord, wherever you go. Try not to be part of the cure of every situation, not part of the problem. Try to ignore evil rather than to actively combat it. Always try to build up, never try to tear down. Show others by your example that happiness comes from the right way. The power of your example is of what you say. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may try to bring something good into every situation today. I pray that I may be constructive in the way I think and speak and act today. December 24th, AA Thought for the Day. We have been given a new life just because we happen to become alcoholics. We certainly don't deserve the new life that has been given to us. There is little in our past to warrant the life that we now have. Many people live good lives from their youth on, not getting into serious trouble, being well adjusted to life, and yet they have not found all that we drunks have found. We had the good fortune to find Alcoholics Anonymous with a new life. We are among the lucky few in the world who have learned a new way of life. Am I deeply grateful for the new life that I've learned in AA? Meditation for the day. A deep gratitude to the higher power for all the blessings that we have and that we don't deserve has come to us. We thank God and mean it. Then comes service to other people. Out of gratitude for what we've received, this entails some sacrifice of ourselves and our own affairs. But we are glad to do it. Gratitude, service, work, and sacrifice are the steps that lead to good AA work. They open the door to a new life for us. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may gladly serve others out of deep gratitude for what I have received. I pray that I may keep a deep sense of obligation. December 25th, AA Thought for the Day. Many alcoholics will be saying today, "This is a good Christmas for me." They will be looking back over past Christmases, which are not like this one. They will be thanking God for their sobriety and their newfound life. They will be thinking about how their lives were changed when they came into AA. They will be thinking that perhaps God let them live through the hazards of their drinking careers, when they were perhaps often close to death, in order that they might be used by Him in the great work of AA. Is this a happy Christmas for me? The meditation for the day. The kingdom of heaven is also for the lowly, the sinners, and the repentant. And they presented unto him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Bring your gifts of gold, your money and material possessions. Bring your frankincense, the consecration of your life to a worthy cause. Bring your myrrh, your sympathy and understanding and help. Lay them all at the feet of God, and let him have full use of them. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may be truly thankful on this Christmas day. I pray that I may bring my gifts and lay them on the altar. December 26th, AA Thought for the Day. I am glad to be a part of AA, of that great fellowship that is spreading over the United States and all over the world. Am I one of the many AAs, but am I one? I am grateful to be living at this time. When can I help AA to grow? When it needs me to put my shoulder to the wheel and keep the movement going. I'm glad to be able to be useful, to have a reason for living and a purpose in life. I want to lose my life in this great cause so I find it again. Am I grateful to be in AA? Meditation for the day. These meditations can teach us how to relax. We can be of service to other people in a small way, at least, and we can be happy while doing it. We should not worry too much about the people we cannot help. We can make it a habit to leave the outcome of the things we do to the higher power. We can go along through life to do the best we can, but without a feeling of urgency and strain. We can enjoy all the good things and the beauty of life, but at the same time depend deeply on God. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may give my life to this worthwhile cause. I pray that I may enjoy the satisfaction that comes from good work well done. December 27th, AA Thought for the Day. I need the AA principles for the development of the buried life within me, that good life, which I had misplaced, but which I found again in the fellowship. This life within me is developing slowly, but surely with many setbacks, many mistakes, many failures, but still developing. As long as I stick close to AA, my life will go on developing, and I cannot yet know what it will be, but I know that it will be good. That's all I want to know. It will be good. Am I thanking God for AA? Meditation for the day. Build your life on the firm foundations of true gratitude to God for all His blessings and true humility because of your unworthiness of these blessings. Build the frame of your life out of self-discipline. Never let yourself get lazy or contented with yourself. Build the walls of your life out of service to others, helping them to find the way to live. Build the roof of your life out of prayer and quiet times, waiting for God's guidance from above. Build a garden around your life out of peace and mind and serenity and a sure faith. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may build on my life on AA principles. I pray that it may be a good building when my work is finished. December 28th, AA Thought for the Day. AA may be human in its organization, but it is divine in its purpose. The purpose is to the point towards good and the good life. My feet have been set upon the right path. I feel it in the depths of my being. I'm going in the right direction. The future can be safely left to God, whatever the future holds. It cannot be too much for me to bear. I have the divine power within me to carry me through everything that may happen. Am I pointed towards God and the good life? Meditation for the day. Although unseen, the Lord is always near to those who believe in Him and trust Him and depend on Him for the strength to meet the challenges of life. Although veiled from mortal sight, the higher power is always available to us when we humbly ask for it. The feeling that God is with us should not depend on any passing mood of ours. We should always try to be conscious of His power and love in the background of our lives. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may feel that God is not too far away to depend on for help. I pray that I may feel confident of His readiness to give me the power that I need. December 29th, AA Thought for the Day. Participating in the privileges of the movement, I shall share in the responsibilities, taking it upon myself to carry my fair share of the load, not grudgingly, but joyfully. I am deeply grateful for the privileges I enjoy because of my membership in this great movement. They put an obligation upon me which I will not shirk, but I will gladly carry my fair share of the burdens, because of the joy of doing them. They will no longer be burdens, but opportunities. Will I accept every opportunity gladly? Meditation for the day. Work and prayer are the two forces that are gradually making a better world. We must work for the betterment of ourselves and other people. Faith without works is dead. But all work with people should be based on prayer. If we say a little prayer before speak or try to help, it will make us be more effective. Prayer is the force behind the work. Prayer is based on faith that God is working with us and through us. We can believe that nothing is impossible in the human relationships if we depend on the help of God. Prayer for the day. I pray that my life may be balanced between prayer and work. I pray that I may not work without prayer or pray without work. December 30th, AA Thought for the Day. To the extent that I fail in my responsibilities, AA fails. To the extent that I succeed, AA succeed. Every failure of mine will set back AA work to that extent. Every success of mine will put AA ahead to that extent. I shall not wait to be drafted for service to others, but I shall volunteer. I shall accept every opportunity to work for AA as a challenge, and I shall do my best to accept every challenge and perform my task as best I can. Will I accept every challenge gladly? Meditation for the day. People are failures in the deepest sense when they seek to live without God's sustaining power. Many people try to be self-sufficient and seek selfish pleasure, and find that it does not work too well, no matter how much material wealth they acquire, no matter how much fame and material power. The time of disillusionment and futility usually comes. Death is ahead, and they cannot take any material thing with them when they go. What does it matter if I gain the whole world, but lost my only soul? Prayer for the day. I pray that I will not come empty to the end of my life. I pray that I may so live that I will not be afraid to die. December 31st, AA Thought for the Day. I shall be loyal in my attendance, generous in my giving, kind in my criticism, creative in my suggestions, loving in my attitudes. I shall give AA my interest, my enthusiasm, my devotion, and most of all, myself. The Lord's Prayer has become part of my AA thoughts for each day. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Have I given of myself? As we look back over the year just gone, it has been a good year to the extent that we have not put good thoughts, good words, and good deeds into it. None of what we have thought, said, or done need be wasted, but the good and the bad experiences can be profited by. In a sense, the past is not entirely gone. The result of it, for good or for evil, is with us at the present moment. We can only learn by experience, and none of our experience is completely wasted. We can humbly thank God for the good things of the year that has gone. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may carry good things into the year ahead. I pray that I may carry on with faith, with prayer, and with hope. The Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. End book. If you enjoyed this book, be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe below. And go on to the Patreon channel. Go to patreon.com/MidSouthChasing and send me some money so I can keep creating these videos for you. Thanks, and take it easy.